Let's go to the headlines now. Mixed reactions from members of Parliament as Speaker Alban Sumana Kingsford Gbagben declined request for a recall of Parliament before December 7. People's National Convention (PNC) declares total support for the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress (NDC), John Mahama. Also coming up, current data reveals that only 1% of Ghanaian households can afford housing provided by formal sector developers. This and many more coming up shortly. Please stay with us. Let's settle for the details now and into our first story. The workload of Ghana's parliament is expected to increase significantly after the December elections as the House reconvenes to address unresolved matters and prepare for the transition to the 9th parliament. The Speaker's decision to defer the majority caucus's recall request means that all pending issues, including those deemed critical, will have to be tackled within a limited post-election window.
For the first time in 3 attempts following the contentious vacant seat declarations, Speaker Alban Gbagben has definitively rejected Majority Leader Alexander Pinyo-Makin's request to recall Parliament before the December elections, despite the Majority Caucus proposing an emergency sitting on November 28 and 29 to address what they termed critical national issues. Speaker Gbagben stood firm, emphasizing the need for MPs to focus on their campaign activities. He announced that Parliament would only reconvene post-elections. The decision, according to Samuel Bain, the Executive Director of Parliamentary Network Africa, signals a heavier workload for the legislative body after the elections.
Parliament will have less than 1 month to be able to do all that they've got to do before this Parliament expires. And so very limited time to do a lot. And that may have its own implications so far as adequate time to scrutinize some of these materials will be concerned. The results of elections, December 7th elections, may also either embolden one particular side or make the other side also feel unbothered.
Being also noted that the Speaker's move was unsurprising. Similarly, a leading member of the Majority Caucus, Katie Hammond, expressed no surprise at the Speaker's decision, suggesting it was expected given what he terms the Speaker's current political interests.
I'm not surprised what you're talking about. The Speaker is in the pocket of the NDC. We thought that the Speaker Babin will just recall Parliament and the NDC will stay away. But some of us also thought that, well, knowing who he is and what he has now become, it was likely that he would hearken to the cries of the NDC and its apparatchik. I wish him well. Let him go on behave unconstitutionally.
The recall request had sparked strong opposition from the Minority Caucus. They questioned its legitimacy, citing constitutional provisions requiring at least 15% of MPs to sign a petition for a recall. The minority also criticized the timing, arguing it would disrupt campaign efforts and create logistical challenges. Additionally, they deemed the request unnecessary, asserting that the Majority Caucus had failed to prove any urgent national emergency warranting such an action. Dr. Forsing warned that granting the recall could set a precedent for procedural abuses in the future. With Parliament now on hold until after the elections, the political stage is set for a high-stakes post-election session as the government races to address unresolved issues before the parliamentary transition. Noble Crosbyan, TV3 News, Accra.
Still on Parliament, and Executive Director of the African Centre for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Rahman, is reiterating that leadership of Parliament need to initiate dialogue to bring resolution to the impasse in the House. Reacting to Speaker's decision not to recall the House until after December 7, he said that it is not surprising because the matter before the House is not a legal one.
At the beginning of this crisis, a lot of us cautioned Parliament and the actors that this really required some kind of political solution. And I remember, even in some of our conversations, I did indicate that in order for us to get out of this crisis, we needed the leaders of the three arms of government, that is the Speaker, the Chief Justice, and His Excellency the President, convening and maybe together with the two leaders of the two caucuses, because, you know, that was needed in order to avert a situation like this where we got to a point where everybody is following legal procedure in order to justify their action. Because when you get to that point, I think it becomes quite difficult. I mean, everything gets derailed one way or the other. And, you know, I have seen this happen in some parliaments. And in fact, at the beginning of this 8th parliament, I think I had the occasion of sharing some experiences from Southern Africa with some of the leaders that if care was not taken and then we didn't have some compromise and consensus, we were going to end up with a lot of legal matters that could disturb the functioning of Parliament. And this is where we are. Even though it's coming towards the last days of the 8th Parliament,
This is your Election Command Center. Let's do some elections-related stories. And Director of Training at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Serebo Kweku, has been explaining the reasoning behind the decision, which is now being heavily criticized.
There are some areas, if you say you live with blank, that media alone will occupy all the spaces. So we were thinking that we should more regulate it so that they will be spread out along the constituencies. If you take Ashanti region, for example, we have 47 constituencies, but if care is not taken, constitution will be only about 7 of them. What happens to the other places? And we want the spotlight to be on each of the constituencies. And you may not understand your essence, but your presence alone will stop people who intend doing things wrong, who have diabolical mind, to stop doing, because they know the media will capture them. So we wanted to do whatever we do so that we will spread you across all the various constituencies. So no constituency, there will be like 100 media persons in constituency A, 0 coverage in constituency 1, which is not fair. But it seems you are not agreeing with us. You are crying. And we said that, okay, Giba, GJ, let's meet and let us all discuss what will be for the best of the country. At the end of the day, we want the transparency to be there too. We want everybody to be comfortable to do his or her work. We were thinking that we have good intentions, but you are not understanding. If you remember, even the GJ president himself says that he agrees with us at some level, but because you will also have your reservations, we need to sit down and judge. At times, you may have the good intentions, but you need to communicate it well.
Now, stakeholders in the 2024 elections have unveiled a comprehensive plan to secure the electoral process. At a security symposium organized by the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, participants call for peace.
Beyond speeches and strategies, the 2024 election is a litmus test for Ghana's democracy, with 12 candidates vying for the presidency and over 40,000 polling stations. The stakes are higher. The Electoral Commission has promised transparency, but history shows that ensuring credibility demands trust, vigilance, and swift action. The Director of Training at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Serebo Kweku, says the 2024 elections is going to be one of the best in the country.
I have been with the Commission since 1995, and I am convinced that this election will be the best in the annals of the country. But what are we all doing towards that? If you leave it to Electoral Commission alone, then somebody goes and picks the ballot box. Electoral Commission is not the one to arrest the person. It is the security services. Are they also ready to arrest them? If somebody flouts the law, the person is put before court. Are the judiciary ready to implement the law as it is? So let us all play our games and our roles diligently and professionally.
The National Election Security Task Force warns that the greatest risks may not come from violence alone, but from subtle attempts to erode public trust through misinformation, vote buying, or voter intimidation.
We only crave the indulgence of the good people of Ghana to cooperate with us. Ghana is the only country that we have. Ghana should be the winner. We have to make sure that we all contribute our quota. Everybody has a stake. And if you happen to realize that there is anything that has the potential of breaking the peace during this election, you have a responsibility to report to the police.
This year's elections also highlight an often overlooked challenge, the role of citizens in maintaining peace. From political leaders to voters, the message from the symposium was clear: democracy is everyone's responsibility.
And on our campaign trail to the NDC, the presidential candidate of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, has hinted that he will redistribute unused portions of large mining concessions to small-scale miners. He emphasized that this initiative would prevent illegal mining and protect the environment. John Mahama has been campaigning in the Western region, where correspondent Komla Kuche reports.
Responsible mining has been on the minds of John Mahama, aimed at ensuring land reclamation and environmental safety. Large portions of the lands in the Western region has been plagued with the Galamsey menace. John Mahama, on the third day of his campaign, was in the Evale Ejura Ajomoro constituency. He proceeded to the Presiahini Valley constituency. Underground mining in the enclave drove livelihoods and the development of the area. Its stagnation is a major worry to chiefs. John Mahama stressed effective and responsible mining will be a pivotal stage of his next administration. He assured that his administration will establish branches of the Minerals Commission and Environmental Protection Agency in mining areas to ensure miners receive licenses and permits without having to travel to Accra.
Responsible small scale mining eba. I think so, baby. You want mine kesia assassina omwageno omo fanye no ye pese omu twebi na ye small scale mining cooperatives no ni twebi ma omo na omo so omo ye adwuma ewo so.
Redistribution of mining concessions, he opines, will be a priority.
And ye say mine kesia beje 60 miles square omunim say enya eho nyina enombe ye adwuma enti baby a omo nye adwuma no ye beje hon so ni achicha ma small scale mines on be responsible mining almost say assassin.
He later campaigned in the Amenfi West constituency.
Say me share social media Nana B asa trona obikodi wo would to me FM me who say ono so sa ocha san trona say first day no 7th no omo koto abama Mahmudu Baumia ena ewoso omukoto areho se me fi se minim so ye lawyer na lawyer enchantrosa lawyer di mraso enti mesre no on sakra ye nyina ye to abano 7th December.
Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Asankregwa.
Let's still stay a bit longer on the NDC because the vice presidential candidate of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, Professor Nani Jane Opoku-Agyeman, is calling on Ghanaians to unite and vote out the New Patriotic Party NPP government. The NDC vice presidential candidate cited economic and social challenges she claims the New Patriotic Party NPP government has plunged the country into.
Addressing the people of Akokwa, Gomwa Aboba, Abia, and Breman Bakon in the Agona East, Gomwa Central, and Esikuma Odoben Brakwan constituencies in the Central region, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman said that NDC's John Mahama is well experienced in governance and should be trusted to turn things around. She stated that the NPP government has caused widespread damage across all sectors of the country's economy and must not be voted for again.
The time is here for us to unite ourselves and work very hard to improve the country. We don't want a situation where our children will attend school for few days and come back home for months.
She also urged the electorate to avoid voting in a skirt and blouse manner to ensure that John Mahama can deliver on his promises once he returns to power.
Where are those talking about skirt and blouse? Let's vote for the presidential and parliamentary candidates of the NDC for a better Ghana.
Let's do some more stories to your election command center. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has commissioned the first batch of electric buses to augment the existing transport operation in the country. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia says the electric buses are expected to reduce the payment of transport fares by 40 to 50%.
100 electric buses have been commissioned by the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. The buses are expected to improve the transportation system. More than 100 head porters, popularly known as Kayaye, have been trained to manage the electric buses. With the introduction of these electric buses, passengers are expected to pay affordable fares. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia stated that the electric buses will help reduce the cost of transportation.
Between 40 to 50% reduction in the fares from these electric buses. This is what you are going to see. From today, when you board it, you will see that the price is 40 to 50% lower because the operational costs are lower and you are able to pass that on to the consumer. And this is where we see the future of public transport.
The Managing Director of Metro Mass Transit, Albert Boahene, highlighted the significance of the electric buses.
While fossil fuel costs account for as much as 55% of our revenue from intra-city operations, the energy cost of these new electric buses will constitute just 15% of the revenue. This represents a remarkable 40% savings in operational costs, allowing us to reinvest in expanding and enhancing our services.
In a related development, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia announced that the Tap and Go initiative will also be introduced in the railway sector.
I envision a future where electric vehicles are the standard, with modern technology playing a key part in it. This vision will require us to be innovative in our approach to problem solving and collaborate to build a seamless transportation system where one tap and go card can be used on all public transport vehicles, including our railway system.
Well, in the camp of the NPP, former President John Mahama has hailed the presidential candidate of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He says Dr. Bawumia is the right candidate to transform the country. John Mahama made the remarks during a courtesy call on the Ochehene Amoetia Oforipinyin in the Eastern region.
2008, Mraso 73, President Bunyansan Mrakesi and Shen. Diadama, Saji Fonwanana, Nanado, Kufuado. Na your party no sun shen say, Yeshia. Na yayi candidate no. Na friend no. Ya doko pradio, na why no be wa badi achire. Na na do nko gbe na no anu akobo akoda koro no a. Anti demo no nanka sabu bia nim no politics kremo de bisi ho na kwada we wan nim no wanya party ni kra nipa ba ko pe no dia dance there so that I'm not a finance minister Banyan baby called Fred Banredu. They didn't know an Banredu, sorry, say. Akodano, the candidate Ababoni didn't know. Sabi Finance Ministry, any Bank of Ghana, Yajumapa. Nasa Akodano, as I said, or no, as Finance Minister, didn't want to dance, Akodano Yajumapa. Now, what the Nukredie Sumpa, Pan or the Yajumama Yabaino. It is a candidate is on Obafano, or no Famudia. What is your candidate to Banonfa, Baumia?
In the camp of PNC, the People's National Convention, PNC, has declared its total support for the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Mahama. The National Executive Committee, which made the decision after a crucial meeting yesterday at the party's headquarters, further directed all of its members to vote for the NDC in the December 7 polls.
The decision comes 2 months after PNC flag bearer Bernard Mona was disqualified from contesting the presidential elections. National chairman of the party, Samson Asakia Wingobit, announced the endorsement of the NDC presidential candidate, John Mahama, at a media briefing in Accra on Wednesday, November 27.
9 days to the general election, the PNC not having a presidential candidate cannot sit neutral. For that matter, as a national chairman, in consultation with the leader, we've invited NEC. We had 15 regional representatives representing the NEC meeting today. At the end of deliberation, we discussed and we collectively, majority, have declared that the PNC, the People's National Convention, will throw our support to the National Democratic Congress presidential candidate for the 2024 general election.
Flag bearer of the PNC, Bernard Mona, said the governing MPP's poor performance informed their decision to throw their weight behind the NDC.
NEC members took the decision in the interest of saving our nation from further plunder by the current government. They also took the decision knowing very well that if the MPP in particular was doing well, the PNC would not have been filing a presidential candidate to contest the MPP to win presidential elections. We are not into this for the fun of it. And since we were in for change because the MPP is not doing well, there cannot be any reason for which NEC can go and be supporting those who have ravaged us, who have destroyed our environment, who have virtually destroyed our future, who have made sure that even little investment that we have has been taken away from us, and that is why you have a haircut.
Less that only 1%. The situation is further compounded by the complex and fragmented nature of the housing sector. The Ministry of Works and Housing has launched the revised version of Ghana's housing profile, originally developed in 2011, which seeks to solve some of these issues.
As of October 2024, Ghana's housing deficit is estimated to be 1.8 million units. Access to adequate and affordable housing remains a significant challenge, characterized by multiple laws, regulations, institutions, and stakeholders operating with limited coordination. This lack of synergy has led to inefficiencies, breeding corruption, and slowing progress in housing delivery. While several initiatives have been introduced to improve the delivery of affordable, sustainable housing, their implementation has been hindered. The government and stakeholders continue to grapple with balancing demand with limited resources.
Only 1% of households in Ghana can afford cheaply the houses provided by the formal sector. I'm talking about real estate developers, and that is a huge challenge. All other households would have to go through very gruesome processes of incremental housing, where you use almost a huge part of your adult life building a house.
In a bid to address these challenges, the Ministry of Works and Housing, in collaboration with the United Nations Human Settlement Programme and the United Nations Office for Project Services, have revised Ghana's housing profile, originally developed in 2011. The updated profile seeks to reflect current realities and provide a strategic roadmap for improving housing and slum conditions.
The housing profile, as I've mentioned, is important because going forward, it guides us with a deeper understanding of how to attend to the gaps in the market. And to this end, we have initiated and implemented policies which are all aimed at enhancing housing affordability through innovative financing mechanisms, strengthening partnerships with the private sector to scale housing delivery, and embracing technology-driven solutions to reduce construction costs.
The revised profile aims to inform evidence-based and demand-driven investment in housing while addressing social issues in the sector.
Away from housing, findings by ECOWAS Youth Sports Development Center show that many youths are willing to set up their own enterprises but lack access to capital. Researchers engaged over 400 youth groups, including persons with disability, those employed and unemployed, but many youths did not know the existence of government programs for startups. This came to light at the end of a two-day ECOWAS Youth Conference in Accra.
The study was conducted under the auspices of the ECOWAS Youth and Sports Development Center. ECOWAS initiated a series of public consultations with young people aged 15 to 35 across its member states. With Ghana inclusive, it was aimed at amplifying the voices of young people, allowing them to express their concerns and contribute to policy formulation. Lead resource person for the ECOWAS Youth Conference, Professor Richard Boatin, said the findings will inform policy decision.
We are having the National Youth Conference in Ghana with the objective of sharing the findings with other youth coming from across the country and be able to come up with concrete solutions, co-developed with government agencies. So we hear, for example, today we had the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program here. Tomorrow we have invited Ghana National Service Scheme and other government agencies, Ghana Enterprises Agency. All of them, we are invited them to be able to engage with the youth and be able to come up with sound, concrete solutions to what they are looking out for.
Provost of the College Humanities, Professor Daniel Frimpong Ofori, the ultimate goal of the findings is also to strengthen youth engagement in policy-making processes and ensure that their voices are considered in shaping the future of their communities and countries.
Sometimes you hear that when the politicians, when they want to sound sweet, they say that, oh, you guys are the future. And then they feel that when they say that, that's enough. But what is the future? Yesterday, we considered today, Wednesday, as tomorrow. Now we have arrived in tomorrow. And what have we done? So that there's a very big gap between this matter of the youth are the future and how we actually prepare them.
On this note, we end the morning news bulletin, but New Day continues right after this breather. Many thanks for joining us. My name is Safwa Bwahine. Do have a great day.
Allow history to be the judge of how I have served my nation.